My name's Mark Morley, and this is the IT Business Partner Playbook, a new series where we'll be joined every week by business partners and business relationship managers from around the globe. We'll be inviting them to share their insights and experiences, the good, the bad, and the ugly, in the hope that we can inspire some positive changes in your world. We're starting this week with Jeremy Byrne, who I've been fortunate to work with for a number of years. We were actually supposed to do this filming last Friday, but we had a technical issue, and since neither of us are any good at IT, I had to delay it until this week. I'll let Jeremy introduce himself in a moment, although many of you will know him from his active roles within the BRM Institute and the wider BRM community. Jeremy was our lead BRM trainer in the UK and was among the first in Europe to achieve the MBRM status. This is one of many badges you'll see on his LinkedIn profile, and we'll share a link to that in our comments. So Jeremy, before we begin, just a quick intro to this podcast. The idea was spawned by you following a recent UK BRM community event. I just started an AI podcast, which I'm using to introduce a new series of executive courses that we've developed. But Jeremy suggested I create a new series with real people and focus purely on business partnering. So here we are. So Jeremy, should we start with a brief introduction and then we can get chatting?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Jeremy Byrne, and like Mark says, I'm a BRM or an IT business partner. And I've been one for a number of years now. I'd say probably going on for about 11 or 12 years. Started off at Loughborough University, where I helped create the function there and get it going, launch it, and then get it going for a few years, and relaunch it, and then relaunch it again. As things change and we have to pivot and change to adjust to what's needed. And then a few years ago, moved over to work at Rolls-Royce, which is where I am now as a senior IT business partner, looking after a large part of the civil aviation part of Rolls-Royce. As well, as Mark said, I've been actively involved in the community for a number of years, worked for the BRM Institute, a number of roles, from leadership roles to helping lead UK communities or special interest areas such as the higher education group, things like that. And yeah, as we mentioned, this came about from attending the UK BRM conference, which was a few weeks back now. And we're talking, and everybody's saying what they want out of the institute, what they want out of the community, what do they want to see happening. And everybody wants more events. Everybody wants to go meet up in person and share stories. But people also said, a lot of people said that they wanted a podcast. And there's been a few BRM podcasts in the past. They've come and gone. But it's always useful. I don't think you can have too many. So I reached out to Mark and said, look, should we just do one? Should we just put something together? Let's just try and do it kind of just quick and fast and loose and just see what happens. And then, you always get some gold out of these things daily.
Yeah.
Put it together, wrap it up and push it out and see what people think and see how it goes. So that's what we're attempting to do today.
Yeah, great. And I'm really looking forward to this and seeing where it goes. The idea of having something that's unrehearsed, unscripted and unplanned is a little bit nervy. But at the same time, like you said, it's when you just free-flow chatting, you often get those nuggets that people really respond to and are looking for. So I'm pretty excited to see where this goes. I'm really excited to see who else we can get on the show in future weeks. I'm sure Jeremy will be back. We've got some other people lined up, so really looking forward to that. So where to start? What have you been doing today?
What have I been doing today? Oh dear. Well, so I've had my Rolls-Royce BRM hat on today. We've been doing strategic planning at the minute. We're using a Japanese strategic management methodology called Hoshin Kanri, which is a new one to me that came to us a few weeks back, where it said, this is what we're going to do. It was a way to map in all our initiatives back through to objectives, to strategic outcomes as a business as a whole. So what they do is I'll probably explain it really badly now, but it's split up into 4 different areas as kind of a cross section. We've got it in Excel, the classic tool which put everything in. We're always telling everyone to get off Excel and into enterprise tools, and then we go and put everything in Excel as a tool. But you have this north, south, east, west cross, and basically what it is, it shows you the long-term objectives, your 3-5 year plan, your 1 year outlook, what you're going to do next year, and then what initiatives are going to work towards those objectives. And what happens is everybody creates one of these cross-sectional maps of what they're doing, short-term, long-term objectives, initiatives, things like that.
Is this within a product line or within a function, or what do you say? Yeah, well,
this is everything. So you're starting real high level on, we want to make 10 more billion pounds or whatever, and then from that you start mapping them through and through. And what it does is we've done it before, lots of other tools where you're mapping like somebody wants to buy a new bit of software. Well, how is that going to help move the needle on the strategic objectives, which move the needle on the strategy, which then gives us that 10 billion pounds. It's like that, but what it does is it's many to many relationships, and it's around where you're absolutely helping it, or you might just be a part of a process. You might just be an underpinning part. So you then give it solid dots or empty dots as to whether you're a big part of this or a small part.
All right. What is the less of a line or not?
Yeah, and what it's done is it's really helped us map through and work out where our gaps are, where the business think they're doing something and we're not doing anything to support it, and we're not, or we're doing something and it's not strategically aligned at all. We thought it was, but when you go up through the channels and through all the different routes through up to all the different people, then you find out that actually it's not as important as we thought it was.
Right.
So we've just been doing that in the minute. So what we're doing now is mapping everything through, and it's really given us some good insight. So seems like a good tool, but it's very early days. Like I said, we've only just started on it.
I think just the process of it, regardless of what tool you're using, just to be able to map that out. So I think one of the things that people struggle with, and I certainly did in the past, is when you're doing your job and you think you're doing a good job and you've got your kind of your own outcomes that you're heading towards, but not knowing where that fits in the bigger picture. So at times, if you're working well on something, it can feel like, what's the point while we're doing this? And especially is so often the case with IT projects, that they kind of lead to nowhere. So the fact that you're going through this exercise now and people know where things are rolling up and that there's value at the end of it, that must kind of be motivating for people.
Yeah, and like we've always done business cases where we've said, like, we want this project and it's going to deliver this, and then everybody does the project and nobody does the benefits realization at the other end to see if it actually did or not.
Yeah,
and I think this is a bit of a different lens on that, where we're saying we'd want to do this because it's going to deliver this part of this bigger picture over here, and we're going to do it in a year, and we will be measured on it, and we will be reporting on it, and it's got all KPI trackers against it. So it's done by now everything. It's always like, putting in the benefits realization at the beginning of the project, building it into the business case, right, and linking it through to the strategy and doing it all in one. So got high hopes for it. It seems really good. We're just doing it in one part of the business at the minute, and if it's successful, I think it'll roll out to other parts. But it's like I said, it's an old Japanese methodology. I don't know how.
Who was the driver of that? Where did that come from? Or,
I think it came from the senior management. So in Rolls-Royce, it's split up into a few different areas, but we've got power systems doing all power plants and things like that. We've got defence bit doing all the defence stuff, and then we've got the civil aviation bit with, the planes that take you on holiday, the nice bit. That's why I work office. And it's that bit that's doing this now. So it's come from the senior management from that leg of Rolls-Royce. So we're
on the business side or the technology side?
On the business side, the business. So then all the top business leaders in this area, and it's a huge company. We've got 50,000 people and all the rest of it. So it is massively complex. So the main guy at the top, he's got 10 people underneath him, and they're all doing their individual ones and then linking through ours underneath it. So yeah. But it's a normal Tuesday for me, Do
you find, when you came away from the community event, do you hear much that people are doing similar things? Because, from our experience, well, there's a mix, but we found a lot that there's generally not much oversight. So people are kind of beavering away on their projects and their bigger programs. But there's often the case that no one has like the end goal, and the people that do have the oversight aren't really sharing that kind of information. So when you're at a community event, did you get much feedback that people are moving in this direction that you're doing now? Or is it still kind of a bit fuzzy?
Yeah, so we didn't really get onto that too much. I think people are still doing the old business case and then struggling with benefits realisation side of things. So it'll probably be the next event where I'll come and shout about this and say how brilliant it is if it all works, and then get everybody excited and hopefully spread it out a bit.
Yeah.
The one at this event was around, people were talking a lot more around what they how could they report their successes as a team and their worth as a function? I think there's been a lot of churn around, people coming and going in the industry. And if you get a new boss, do they know what BRM is? Do they know it? And so it's trying to prove the worth like that. And I spoke to some people and they were doing this, like trying to, relaunch their BRM brand. Like I said, I've done it a couple of times before, so a few pointers. But I said one of the main points was winning over even just your peers in IT, where they don't see the value, like all these techie people. So will I go and, do this coding over here, make this thing that makes a difference? You go and drink coffee, eat cake and chat about it and just bring me back more work to do. So that's all that. I've got a mountain of work. I don't need you to bring me more. So I told them that, for them, it's really important to show them all the work that you're bringing to that. And when you get the 10 requests and you've managed to grab them and shape them into one request and then give it to them, and you've managed to cut out all the nonsense, just the actual request in terms they understand that they could just pick up and then deliver and be successful with, rather than them getting 10 requests, which are all over the shop and requirements everywhere, and then they struggle. So I said, you've got to start recording all the times you say no, all the times you request together. Because they were doing it, but they weren't recording it. So I said, you've got to write it down. And then you've got it up every month, quarter, or every year. And little show and tell and say, this is what we've done. Yeah, I'm just drank all the coffee and ate all the cake. We've also done this. And that's helped you. Because,
we've heard often where people kind of struggle to, articulate your value. But I think that the problem with being a good BRM is that there isn't a tangible product at the end of it. So you can't say, look, I've done that. You've helped other people do that. And so I guess the way to show your value is by the value that other people have recognized. So I guess this kind of reporting, it helps.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you could do these reports that say how many successful projects you've helped launch, how many projects you've helped stop, and things like that. But I've had bosses who've just said, look, if I'm not getting shouted at, I know you're doing a brilliant job. If I walk along down the corridor and someone walks past me and smiles at me rather than grabs me and asks me for all the IT being rubbish, then I know you've done a good job. So if everyone's smiling, you're doing good. So there's always that. It's always going to keep everybody happy. So it's always just setting expectations, letting them know what's possible and what got budget for and things like that. Yeah, as it always says, around demystifying IT and making it more transparent is just key, because he's been so used to just sitting in a locked room in the darkened basement, tapping away, delivering what they think's right and pushing it out there. Whereas if you open up the lid and show people all the hard work the IT guys are doing and why they're doing it, it helps the business understand, doesn't it?
I think that's one of the good things, or one of the key things that BRMs can do, is just be the communicator, the people to make sure everyone's updated. Because we've heard a lot, oftentimes in the past, the BRMs want to be kind of strategic. They want to get involved in business decisions, but then things aren't working operationally, so they're not being allowed to those parties because emails aren't working, servers are down, whatever. But then they found just by explaining to the business why things aren't working, just making sure there is open communication and just managing expectations, being honest about stuff, that makes a big impact. And so even if things aren't working, the fact that the business knows about it means that they're more open to bring the BRMs into the strategy meetings.
Yeah, and I think comms is a huge part of it. The communications in and out of IT, it's both ways, because you do these surveys and get the feedback as well. I think that BRM's got to be as close to that as possible. I've had it where it's been under me in my BRM function, comms and training as well, for training. This is a new software and stuff. And I think that is really key. If you haven't got it in your remit, you need to be really close to it, because that is key for getting that message out there. Like you say, getting everybody on the same page.
Yeah. Do you find, because we with a few BRM teams we've worked with recently, they've said that they've actually been welcomed into the business, that they have issues with their own IT team. So it's kind of, as a BRM, you feel part of the IT team, but then to have those guys have the issue with you, not the business, that seems a bit counterintuitive. So have you encountered that much, that in some places you've worked and the business is your friend and others IT is your friends?
Yeah, and that's what I was saying around they just see you going out drinking coffee and eating cake and bring them more work, and they don't see the value. So definitely you can help them by showing how you stop things, but also allowing them to get some of the limelight out in the business. I've done it where I've taken the lead of a technical team, or even just some technical person straight off the, who's doing all the coding, and bring them out into the business and say, right, I'm going to do a presentation, but I'll do you a couple of slides in the middle, and you come out and just say, look, this is all the stuff I've done, and get them out and say, look, we're IT's doing this great stuff, and most of it's down to this person over here, and they've done a great job, and this is why. And then they really like that. They're getting some recognition. This is around building up those relationships internally. Because, I would say BRMs often focus so much on the business and the strategic bit of the business. I must please all those people right at the top of the chain in the business. Well, no, you've got to please everybody in IT as well there, or you've got to please the people lower down the chain as well are just as important. So it's about not taking your eye off the ball in that case and making sure, you've got everybody on side.
I think that's a really nice idea, bringing the IT people with you and showing what they've done. Because, to be fair, IT, one of the first banks we went to when we started offering us training, their IT team was literally in the basement of the building. And so, if you're kept down there, it's hard to feel that you're part of what's going on up above. And the work you're doing is not really appreciated, and you're just constantly being beaten with a stick. So the fact that you're bringing people out and showing what they're doing I think it's really nice.
Yeah, and it works vice versa as well. You get people from the business and you bring them into IT meetings as well, and that's always a real eye opener for them. I'm sure to see, what is the actual constraints here, what is the pain points and the suffering, and what are IT people actually talking about. At the end of the day, they just get delivered a product or a service or something like that, and then it either works or it doesn't work. If you bring them in and see it actually being built, and the struggles and troubles around it, then that really helps them boost their understanding as well. So it was around this, bringing people into meetings. But there's also another thing we used to do at uni, actually, which was really good, which was job shadowing. Anybody in the business could one day with anybody else in the business. And I'd always encourage people in IT to go and pick a real senior manager and say, look, just go and follow them around for the day, go to their meetings and understand what their world's like. Yeah. Vice versa, and try and get the business into IT. Follow them around for a day. No, not so interested in watching somebody code all day, then go to senior strategy meetings maybe, but it's all different, isn't it? So just try.
I think that's a really great idea, and I've always been a big supporter of that. Years ago when I worked for a bank in Europe, they got the team building events. They would get the company together and they would run these role play games, and you'd have to swap positions with people, so you'd have to take on somebody else's role. And even though it's a game, it really did give you an appreciation of what you expect something from somebody, but obviously they're waiting on somebody else for something. There's always a chain. So it's not until you step into someone's role you can really appreciate the pressures they're under, what they're waiting for and what they need. So I think that's a really great idea. And it's not something I hear often done.
Yeah. And the service desk is the classic one. That frontline IT support, they always get it in the neck. Actually, if you get somebody to go and sit there for the day and see what they have to deal with and how they have to operate, then they have a real understanding for it.
Yeah.
What the kind of requests they get and how they have to try and deal with them.
With that new tool you're using, you talk about doing a 3 to 5 year plan.
Yeah.
We're finding more and more, I don't know whether it's just the way of the world, that the things happening so quickly that having a 1 year plan seems pretty optimistic at the moment. So how often are you having to change these plans? Is it continually, or are you pretty hard and fast?
So 1 year plans are pretty solid. I would say they're like 80% solid, as in you what you plan at the beginning, 80% of it you're doing. The 20% is the wiggle room, and it's mainly down to funding. So you get your money allocated and then you've got to spend it. But then something pops up, something goes wrong, there's that 20% wiggle room. That's on year one. When you get to year two, it drops down to like 50-50, and then that year three, it starts shifting around. It's 30-70 and things. So when you're talking about things in 3, 4, 5 years' time, they're always kind of aspirational. We think this is where we're going. We can put some numbers on there, but they don't really mean very much. But the 1 year is pretty solid, and we do that. But you do get stuck in annual cycles of these things. Saying Rolls-Royce, you get your funding cycle. The university, you'd have your academic year cycle. Yeah. A lot of companies do this, where they get this 1 year cycle where they start here, they have to spend, and then they stop there. and then you get your next money to go to the next one. If you can't roll money over, and you can't, you end up wasting money then trying to spend money you don't need to spend and things like that. You can't carry it over to the next year and bits. And yeah, it's very difficult when things are working on those annual cycles. You want it rolling. You're on this rolling picture where you're looking normally 12, 18 months in the future, and it just moves forward and rolls over every month. That's best for the BRM anyway. Maybe not for the lawyers.
Sorry?
Best for the BRM, but maybe not for the accountant.
Oh, right. Yeah. The thing is, I mean, we found it's more common in the public sector, but when you get to the end of the financial year and then suddenly you've got to spend as much as you can because you've got a budget. It's just, we found it's a real shame that things, they don't have like more of an investment focus, like a treasury approach where, every penny you spend has to have a rationale behind it. And you're awarded that based on the value it's going to bring, rather than you've got a pot of money to spend and you better spend it and then let's worry about what value it brings later. I know that's common in corporate, but definitely in public it seems to be an ongoing issue.
Yeah, I think it still is an issue. People always try and solve it and put in things where they allow things to be carried over and those exceptions and things like that, some different rules to follow. But yeah, I still think it is a problem, public and private sector, really, when people try and do this. So yeah, you don't want to say you've got your estimates wrong and you're going to give back a load of money because it makes it bad, and you don't want to say you got your estimates wrong and you need a load of extra money because you look bad. So everyone tries to, even though they can make a complete guess of an estimate, they then want to then try and stick to it. So what we've done some good work on that to try and fix that, actually, where pretty much all of our projects go through a pre-sanction phase before a full sanction phase. Okay. Pre-sanction phase, it's all around discovery and getting the financial resources figures right. So you go through pre-sanction and say, I want to do a project to put in a new HR system. I want to upgrade it from version 9 to version 10. You think, that's going to cost us, £500,000. But they do a pre-sanction on it and say, right, actually, how many people do we need? How long is it actually going to take? Well, we know the licenses cost, we know this increase, but let's work out the people cost. And you get it really accurate by doing a month or two discovery and then a 10-month project rather than just a 12-month project of start for this. So you do that 2 months up front, get it really accurate. Then you ask for the exact amount that you want and then deliver it. So that's what we've been doing those.
With those, you mentioned an HR system, just for example. But is the kind of responsibility for how that system or project is performing down to HR, or does IT have to kind of keep a track of that because it has a technical element?
So we always have like a business product owner and an IT product owner. I can never remember which one's which. Like there's a product owner and a product manager. And, I think the business own it and the IT manage it. I think that's the right way around, but I've seen it interchange. But essentially, it's the business's product. It's their product to deliver, their product to run, their product. They're getting the value out of it for their business area, their business unit. IT is just supporting it and managing it, hopefully, behind the scenes and making sure it runs smoothly and do all the upgrades and things. So, yeah, we see it as business owned.
Okay, so I don't want to talk too much about airing dirty laundry of companies that you work for, but I am interested to know, because going from Loughborough to Rolls-Royce is a huge change in culture, I would expect. So I just wondered if you could mention how those cultures are different and some of the things you've experienced.
Yeah, so I was talking to people about this at the conference, actually, and I was saying that they're saying, it must have been a huge shock going from like university public sector to such a big private sector organisation. I said it was a big change, but it was a lot less than it would have been before COVID. And I said, actually, COVID leveled out a bit. So what's happened in the past 10 years or so, since universities have gone from being funded to charging students money and changing that funding model, they moved to becoming a lot more professional and a lot more like a private company where they've got to keep track of the numbers and they've got to get the numbers up to get the money in to deliver this, to deliver that. And their students have turned into paying customers directly rather than indirectly. So the level of kind of, let's say professionalism, that's not the right word because it may sound like they weren't professional before, but the similarities between public and private sector had squashed and got less. And then when COVID happened, Rolls-Royce and other private companies went the other way, where they said, instead of like, you must be in at 8 and leave at 6 and deliver these things, they went, actually, you can work from home, you can just deliver what you need to deliver. You can come and go as you please. You just got to do this. And they became like less rigid and became a bit more towards the public sector ways of working. So I think the gap was huge. And then from COVID, it squashed it down. And then that's when I moved, because I could see that the working practices had changed. Loughborough were getting closer to a private type company, and the private sector just getting closer towards the public sector. So that vast chasm of culture difference became just a small chasm.
Okay. Have things changed much in the years following COVID? Because I know at one point everyone was happy to work from home, and there's a lot of allowances made. I know there's a lot of companies now kind of keen for people to come back into the office more often, and things are becoming a little bit more rigid. A Rolls-Royce still fairly open. They're just kind of results and outcomes driven.
Yeah, no, so we're still doing like 50-50 pretty much. What we aim for is half time in the office, half time at home. We say, right, this one day, this whole team's in, so all come in then and spend time together. And that's great. You've got to have that face-to-face time. But then for as a BRM, the other days are all dotted around, because it depends when your stakeholders are in and when they need you.
Right.
If they put a face-to-face meeting, luckily I'm half an hour drive away, so I'd say whenever you need me, just put it in and I'll just drive in and come back. And that's how I operate. So I'll do my Mondays is my team day, and my team, and then the other days I'm in and out and in and out and in and out, to around. But it works for me, and then I can do fit school runs in and things like that. But that would be unheard of before COVID, of you going, now school run, bye. Like, what do you mean? It's not 5 o'clock. I want school run. Go again. So it's really good that they now accommodate that kind of thing. But yeah, some other companies have gone, no, we want you back in more and more. But I know Loughborough Uni, I know they're still 90% at home. Like, I still know all the people there. Oh yeah, we do like Thursdays, and we do 10 till 4 on a Thursday where we come in and do that. But the rest of it we're still remote. And that's what they want to be. And to be fair, the university is it's a campus university, and it's the space is a premium, so they want you to work from home, so they've got more space to do teaching, lecturing, and that's worth more to them.
Yeah,
they can work from home. It suits both parties. So yeah, we're not seeing the strictness come back in 5 days a week. And I think if any company did that, I think a lot of people leave because they need that.
Yeah. There's definitely, I definitely see value in the face-to-face things, the water cooler talk and that kind of thing. I think there's a lot of value in seeing people face-to-face, and you can kind of gauge reactions better and be more aware of what's going on with body language and stuff. But at the same time, that's just the occasional meeting. I don't think it needs to be full-time, so it's good having a mix.
Yeah, but then if you get so we've got somebody in our team who's in Germany, so we've got offices over there, and if we're having a team meeting and he's the only person in on the call and everybody else in the room, then he's got a second-class citizen kind of experience out of it.
Right, yeah.
So when it's like that, you have to kind of get into the practice of, right, everyone get your laptops open and put your camera on. We're all in the room. One person's not, so everyone else has to still do that. It's okay. A bit more of a level playing field.
Yeah.
There's lots of little things like that where you have to try and not stick into the old way of like, oh, well, we're all online, I'll put them on screen over there and let's just talk and they listen in. No, you always have to try and bring them into the conversation, get everyone to put the cameras on, there's little subtle differences to make the difference work. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm sure you really value that, because I would feel the same. If you're stuck on a screen, even though you're listening to everything and you can take part, you don't really feel like you're kind of as engaged as everyone else. So it's great to do that.
Oh, also, there's another side to it when everyone in the room's talking and jumping in on top of each other. If you put your virtual hand up on your screen, everyone stops and goes, oh, they've got a point. Whereas I could be in the room going, in half an hour because everyone's talking to each other. And sometimes your virtual hand's worth more than being in the room.
Yeah. Do you find do you spend a lot of time in meetings? Because there's some people I deal with that I'll arrange a call with them and they just finish a call, then they have a meeting with me, and then they're on to another call, and I just think, wow, I don't know how people can cope with that.
Yeah, it is pretty much like that. So yeah, people book out like the lunch breaks and stuff like that. So do not book lunch break, but people just book it anyway because it's like, no, they could get them. We have something really good at Rolls-Royce called Golden Time, which is basically Thursday morning. It's for training and development.
Okay.
time for you to go away and read a book and do an online course, but we'll get guest speakers in, come and talk about emerging technology, things like that as well. So experts come in and talk about AI and things like that. So really cool, interesting stuff. So our Thursday mornings, we're trying to protect those as much as possible.
That's very cool.
Otherwise, back-to-back meetings is totally normal at Rolls-Royce, whereas at uni it wasn't. There was a kind of you got your meetings and then you got to do your work.
Yeah.
So I think Rolls-Royce now, and it's more of a strategic role than it was at Birmingham, it is more meetings. It's like, no, your job is to go to the meetings and listen and give them a steer or make a decision about something or get some feedback to pass on to somebody else. You don't do admin and typing things up and writing reports and doing that because somebody else will do that because you're too strategic. The most valuable time is for you to be in all these meetings and helping steer things.
Yeah, and I do get it. I mean, I was speaking to someone recently. They were saying that they've flown to a couple of meetings last week. So they've flown there, taken part in a 45-hour meeting, not said anything, and then flown home again. And think, wow, what a waste of time. But it's tough, and it is kind of important to be in those meetings because it might be there's something you can pick up on something and then respond to it. And it's good that you're in the room at the time. But obviously, we wouldn't want to make a habit of going to too many of these meetings where you don't have much to say.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad when I drive in half an hour and then I get there and they're all online and I'm the only one in the room. And I was like, I thought this was the one user person. At least I'm not flying.
So how do you just come back to culture again? Because I've just been thinking there's some people I've been connected with for a long time. And there's one group in particular, we did some training with them, and then shortly afterwards, the CIO changed and the whole BRM function was wiped out. And you think, how can one person kind of have that much impact and influence on the organization? Would you say in the companies you work for that BRM was the capability was kind of so mature that it wouldn't matter who came in above, that it would have been maintained?
No, I think it's always at risk. I think there's always a risk. Somebody will come in and say, actually, I think we know we've got good enough relationships directly with everybody in IT. Like, if you do a really good job, you could do yourself out the job here. You get everyone in IT talking to everyone in the business, getting building up your culture, cultivating all these relationships. And they can say, actually, now we know that these product managers are talking directly with the senior people and working on the roadmaps and things like that. These are the people working on these, and that update's working really well. We could get rid of all the BRMs and change you into be product managers or product owners and things like that. I see that could happen really easily, I think, at any time. I don't think it's always like say it could be a victim of its own success in that respect. But then what would happen is it would probably start to deteriorate and then they'll bring them back a few years later.
Yeah.
But I think my advice would be, if that happened to anyone, then just change your role into being a product manager. Don't be too precious about it if you love the company you work for and everything else. Because the role will probably come back again in a few years' time as that CIO changes to somebody else and the old one had a really good BRM function and wants to come in, then you'll be back into it again. Yeah. So I think it is a worry, but I think I used to think if that happened, I'll be off. So I love BRM and I want to do it forever. But I think my view on it's changed recently where I said, no, actually, I'll be a product manager. And I'll do roadmaps and strategy and a lot of it's the same. And then I could shoehorn a bit of BRM stuff into the side. And then when it came back, I'd check up a title back. It's just a title, isn't it, at the end of the day?
You can always champion the BRM capability, can't you? Just bring in, because the thing is about BRM, there's so many critical kind of aspects to it that they're going to improve any role that you do. So being able to kind of call on those skill sets and tools and stuff is always going to be valuable.
Yeah, you could just do it under another name. There's all most of the kind of senior IT manager job roles do bits of BRM. So if you ended up in any of those, you could still just be doing BRM just under a different name. Probably the jump on the side then as well.
Did you find at the community event that there were many people there that weren't business partners or weren't BRMs?
No, they all were. And again, they're all IT ones. We do these events and go, sure, open up to finance ones and HR ones. They're too different. Like the worlds are too different. We've tried to push them together before and it doesn't quite work. They're all IT BRMs. They're all a mixture. We had a brand new one. The light bulbs just kept going off every time. The notepad was out. It was like, let me take your email address. Oh, that's a good idea. That was just just like that with a newly formed BRM function.
That's really cool. That's what I love about those events, that you can help people like that. It's it's really cool.
Exactly. So that was really good. And there's a few new ones, and then there's other ones who've just moved into new companies, and then you get some ones who've been in the same company doing it for 10 years and just progressing it, making it more strategic and things like that. So it was really good.
Is it the same old challenges that people are talking about in these events? I mean, we mentioned articulating your value. Are there any other themes that popped up?
Yeah, so I did a talk on AI. That's the new thing.
And that went down really well, I hear.
Yeah, it did go down well. It was nice. So yeah, I spoke about AI and saying that basically it's coming in, and I did a poll of the room saying, how many of you are using it at home? How many of you got it on your phone, and how often do you use that, and how often do you use it in the workplace? The results were as expected, where more people are using the personal life than they are at work. And this is what happens. You use something at home and work takes a while to catch up. So security policies and everything else around it. So everybody was like, yeah, we're using it and we find it really useful. So then I spoke about how we were using it Rolls-Royce and what benefits we've done there as a company. And then I said, as a BRM, this is where I can make use of it today and where I think it's going in the future. And everybody really liked that, yeah. So that was like...
Is that within your personal role, how you can utilize it, or suggesting it to the business?
No, in my personal role as a BRM, and what I could do to make my life easier.
Okay.
And one of the examples was we do staff surveys. What do you think of IT? What could we improve? And they give scores like 0 to 10 and all the rest of it. But then there's always a free text box to say, give us some ideas. When you got 50,000 stuff, you get 50,000 free text. Can't read them all. So we put AI on that and say, right, tell me the positive ones, negative and neutral ones, and it does it by analysing words and then word couple of twos and sets of twos and threes of words thing, and then it can work out whether it's positive or negative, and then it can do right, and then how many talking about hardware, so things like laptop screens, keyboards, mice, and then build up that picture, and how many are about software, and how many about data, and how many about support and service they get.
Okay.
You could use AI to do sentiment analysis and analyse it all, and then it spits out all the results and summarise it for you. And then from that, you can build up your action plan. But that's something where, normally I would go through and skim read as many as possible.
Yeah. Feel for it. There'll be a week's work, by the time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's good to throw AI at that. And we had that, and we had some other examples around what we do. Like writing up business cases, and I want to make this more formal. This one's going to get approved by the CFO, so can you make this something that a CFO would like be over it? They start adding prompts in and things to make it more in the style which would be more likely to succeed in these approval gates you go through and governance things. So lots of bits like that. So that was a new bit of the conference, and then otherwise there was a lot of people saying the same things like, how do you do the value of BRM? How do we progress to being strategic? How do we open that door? Things like that. So,
You think, because I keep an eye on the jobs that pop up in LinkedIn, the business partners of BRMs, because I just share them with our community because people are always looking. And I do often see the job specs, and it's clearly not, the institute style of BRM, the value strategy focus is the ITIL transactional operational approach. Is there still a lot of people that are dealing with that you're aware of, from the community?
Yeah, but you get people and they get brought in as a BRM, and the advert might say it's strategic, and then they get there and it's not, and it's somewhat tactical. And ITIL do push it as being a bit more operational and tactical, and most companies in the UK are following ITIL as a baseline to an IT department. We still do get a lot of that where they are, slipping into that tactical world, and then they're trying to relaunch, rebrand it, and push it into strategic. But when the senior managers have said they want a tactical one, the job spec says it's tactical one, and then you're in as a tactical, I think it could be very advantageous to be strategic. That can be hard. But I see those job adverts as well come up like that, and you get a really wide range of job title names and salaries. So you could be a BRM, an IT business partner, business engagement manager, an IT liaison person, whatever, all different words. Just get your thesaurus out for relationship liaison and things like that. And then I see salaries in the UK go from 30k to 120k easily, like literally. And it's exactly the same job. It's like, how have you been like this much difference when it's not just London waiting? It's like just how strategic it is and how they see it. Are they part of it? Are they reporting into the top people at the company?
Yeah.
Or are they reporting into a project management office which reports into a strategic build, which reports into the CIO, reports into the top people?
Yeah.
It could easily be 4 or 5 down at the top, or it could be 1 down at the top of BRM. So it's
and that's something I'd kind of encourage people to check into that if they are applying for jobs, because we know a number of people that've gone into a BRM role and then within 2 months they're really kind of just sad because they've come from a place where they had it's been that elevated role, and now they're in a place where they're never going to get there. They're never going to elevate BRM to be anything more than it already is, and they keep trying to present BRM to be what it can be, but it falls on deaf ears, and so they end up leaving. So it's definitely something I'd encourage people that are listening to, if you are going for a BRM job. All BRM jobs are not created equal, so it's definitely look at the job, look at what they're looking for, look at all you're reporting to, as you just did, because that gives you a good idea.
That's one of the other main reasons I went to Rolls-Royce, because I knew the people there and I knew how strategic they were. They all had a seat at the top tables. They're all in the leadership team meetings, the strategy meetings, doing the 5-year plans and everything like that. So I knew when I was into it, I was walking into a much more mature, much more strategic role than I was in currently. So yeah, it definitely helps to do your research on these companies.
And actually the blog that you did for us on applying for a BRM role continues to be our most popular blog. I mean, that was a few years ago you did that, but we get people on that every day. Your interview questions, and that's on what to look for. So we might need to do an update on that, although it's still popular. So that's really good.
Yeah, I bet that does need a refresh. That was about 8-9 years ago I wrote that.
And that long ago, right?
I think so, because I did it on my own personal blog ages ago. But out there, it might have died a death. I don't know. I've not touched it for years. I think we repurposed it for IT winners, didn't we? So you could put it on yours. So yeah, I think that will need a refresh now, and I think we could probably do a really good one actually, because I think we've got a lot more insights and know a bit more about everything. So yeah, put it on the to-do list.
Yeah, that's something else. Number 730. Just talking about the new roles. Because I've always wondered when you join a company, there's always you get your laptop, you get your fee code, and there's certain things they go through. But what they don't do is kind of introduce you to the people that you're going to be dealing with, explain where what the last person was dealing with, the relationship strategy basically. I've always thought that maybe that should become part of the onboarding process of BRMs.
Yeah, so some people do that. So some people have their own internal kind of CRM system where they'll write notes on the relationship and say, this person's really angry about IT for these reasons, and this person loves us because they've had really good service and they wanted this project, we delivered it on time. And you get this kind of picture about who the person is, but there's heaps of notes on them saying what they like and what they liked, what they didn't like, and what they've had to live with, what they've not had to live with. And walk into a role where you've got that, you can pick that up. And that's a great starting point, but it still doesn't connect to on that personal level. You still got a deeper work to do.
Yeah. So you say at least you know what you're letting yourself in for, though, to some extent, and you can kind of angle your approach differently.
Yeah, but other times, like you say, you're walking in blind, because what's happened is the BRM who looked after these people's left. You're coming in to fill in the hole, and their colleagues might not have a full understanding of what the relationship was like, and what they did and how they were feeling and things like that. So then, like I say, you've got to come in a bit blank. So when I started Rolls-Royce, it was really, really hard, because literally everyone's talking another language. They're all talking about engineering acronyms and airplane engines and things. And I didn't know what they were talking about. A senior leadership meeting alone, you understand half the words they're saying.
Right.
So I'm just trying to absorb it and Google and research and everything what I can. And it must have been a full year until I was actually starting to be able to contribute and make a difference and steer people in the right way. So I was just absorbing and trying to pick things up and do low level, probably tactical tasks, which I shouldn't do. Usually BRM, I'm like, I'll get you new laptops and new screens in here, and I'll I'll talk to these. But that's the only value add I could do at the time, because I was learning everything else. So I dropped down to being tactical for the first 6 months or so, and went and fixed all the basic IT stuff. You got Wi-Fi problems, you got screens broken, I'll run around and make the office IT work seamless and really nice. Get all the IT project updates, chase people and push things along. And then after the 6 months to a year, then I could start going in and say, right, now I understand the world that you're in, and see where you're going. I can help steer the ship in the right way.
I think that's a really key thing, because you're willing to kind of roll up your sleeves and get your hands dirty. That's what the business kind of needed from you at that time. They didn't need someone who's trying to aim too high. They wanted to get their challenges dealt with. And so the fact that you did that earned you a lot of trust and respect with those people and built your credibility up. And so they were kind of more than happy to bring you to the table when the time was right.
Yeah, I mean, it can backfire. You can be like, oh no, that's just the guy who fixed the printers, and it's like, and it's just, the theory says you shouldn't be a gap filler. You should point out there's a gap and get it filled. You shouldn't jump in and do this stuff. But I think when you're new in a new company and you're there absorbing, no, I want to give you a bit of value as well. So yeah, I'm going to do this, but you need to make a point that it's not your role, but you're going to jump in and do it, and things do. There's a way to do it, and you've just got to spin it in the right way to show that you're doing and adding value, but you're not the IT support guy crawling around underneath the desk with the cables.
Well, we've been gassing on here for nearly an hour now, so I guess maybe now's a good time to do some final thoughts. I don't know if you had any in mind that we can share with people just to close off there.
Final thoughts. Well, I think my final thought will be just for BRMs to get out there and get involved in things outside of the job. So attending the conferences like the UK community event, and joining up to the institute and looking at all the best practices and reading all the books and doing all the online training courses and all that thing. All that extra stuff does help you in your day job, varying degrees. But then the most valuable one is attending the events and doing things like these podcasts and things where you're just talking to people and working things out. So I think everybody should basically form an orderly queue behind me and get on these podcasts and do an hour of rambling at you for you to fit into a decent half an hour.
No, that would be wonderful. But I think, just this airing and sharing. So I think a lot of people can kind of, especially if things get a bit heavy in their role, it can be difficult to kind of know where to look for help before you even ask for it. So I think these kind of things, and the community events are really fantastic. They're always really well attended, great bunch of people. And it's one of the things that we loved about getting involved with the BRM community, because they're just generally good people. So we're more than happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, you go to the conferences and you share your problems, the problem shared, problem halved or whatever. But truck is, everybody's doing that. You pick up 10 more. They're other people's problems, so they're less of a burden. You offer them some advice.
Wonderful, great stuff. Okay, well, thanks, Jeremy. I think we'll end it there. But I'm sure it'd be great to get you back on the show in the future, and I'll look forward to the next episode. And thank you for suggesting this, because this is, really what we enjoy doing. It's just been able to kind of share information, share insights, share knowledge with people, just to help them along.
Yeah, thank you. No, it's been really good. I'm excited for where it's going to go.
Great stuff. Thanks, Jeremy.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.